Hey everyone, so I did some off-screen mining as I said I would, and I have some stuff to show you. Let me first start by showing you the progress so far and why I actually have to stop. So I'm going to create a new save file, and I have added many things which I will split into different parts of the video. I have added my quests, kind of similar to my Roblox. Obviously the UI is not the best thing right now, but I added, just as I added you can press X or C, I added them as buttons as well, and that they will update. So if we look at, yep, the talking is broken. I love it when things are broken the minute I want to show you, but there was a quest system and I had tested it and it worked, but now it does not seem to anymore. Is there anything? No. So it just says that the signal is being sent, but we'll see what's going on. However, that was not the topic of the video. The topic of the video is something very important. So when you have pressed a button in the UI, this is a button. This is a button as well. I forgot to show what it does. So this button, basically hides the UI. Am I showing the whole UI? Yeah. So it hides the UI, and if I go to, oh, 1 second, I'm just working on something else. If I go to globals and set this to true, this isn't, I have not implemented this yet, but basically I wanted to see that I could do that multiple things appear on this hotbar. Unfortunately though, I did have to manually code in the position of the end position in the beginning. So I'll figure out the UI later, but what usually used to happen is if you press space, you would have basically toggled the button every time. So the first thing I've learned that's kind of important is you go to project settings and you go to your input map, and then you have to show inbuilt actions. It's not on by default. And then UI accept should have space in it. You need to remove that. I will remove this later as well because I have not yet seen something where I've actually used space instead of using UI select. So I guess one of the first things you have to do is to put a jump action so that you can separate that from the inbuilt actions, because you might need the inbuilt actions for something else. Yeah, so what I was doing so far is I worked on another feature of Godot, is that you can run files inside, the run is not showing. So if I click on file up here and then go down, you can actually run a file. So not everything has to be attached or has to be related to gameplay. And that means that this will make my import work easier, because when I have imported something from Blender, after I've cleaned it up from Roblox, I put it into Blender, I clean that up, and then I import it here. And the way my item structure, because I was working on that add-on that I mentioned in a previous video, the item structure is very different. So each flower is its own scene and each seed is its own scene. And I was trying to figure out a way to change that. So if I go to the species folder, and I'll show you the first species. I'm guessing I showed this before. I have changed it. So this mature one, no, this one, the grown one, used to be a RigidBody, and now I have just replaced it with a simple mesh. And this collision box, it's just put to 0, just so that I can just use the same transformation and everything. This collision box is then what gets called as the parent, because the collisions are species dependent. So that is very, very dependent use case for my game, that I was able to replace the meshes that I use for the world generation, because what originally was happening is that they had a seed item class, which is, oh, I can't show that without, I have to hide the OBS a little bit and then I can show it. Yep, there you go. It had the seed item thing, which was inherited from the seed, the collectible item, and then item. I can show this to you. So apparently this tool thing is not actually that useful. This is not the correct way to use it. Tool is for things that you actually want to run inside the editor, and it says here in the annotation. But I was just following the exact same way that the add-on has had it, and I'm guessing this is correct as well. I don't know why it needed to be this way, but so this extends consumable, so it all basically extends item from the add-on. And consumable is something I have made. Consumable extends collectible, I believe, and collectible is in the add-on. So you can collect things, but they will not disappear in the world by default. And I have added this and then changed the interaction inside the player interaction controller. Long story short, that was the original way, which means it needed to have been a scene. And I did not want to have too many scenes. So I have found a way to make sure that like the trees as it looks right now in front of you, that I do not have like that the grown and mature are just simple meshes, just like G. There's just like the growth stages. And the reason how I built this is like, basically that was the scaffolding. And then I just, when I realized I could just call in an empty collision, which I called water interact, watering body. Yeah. This watering body is just very, very generic, and it's for all species, and it's the one that will call in the you know, help water me bubble. So that's how you would interact with it, because everything in this add-on, the item add-on, is using a collision box and not an area 3D. And then you will see in like other tutorials and other things that that the player interaction and stuff sometimes uses area. So if I pick up a seed, this one is on auto grow anyway. I can walk. Oh wait, I need something that actually shows you the thing I want. Okay, here. So right now it's just a mesh, and then now it has this. So you think it's a collision shape, then I would need to, yeah, so I can still walk through it despite it being a collision shape because of the layers being different. Now, where am I going with this? Now, I've figured out, okay, this is a generic type of interaction. I want to do that for the species. As you can see, I can collide with the species, but I cannot collide with, okay, sorry, this is causing performance issues because it was imported from Roblox, and it's a long story. I'll have to replace it later. Yeah, so I'll talk about this in another video. This is part of the thing I had in my game, but this idea that you can have a collision shape and basically use it as an area shape is interesting, because area shape has methods that are not in collision shapes. Yeah, so it's a little bit different than how you would have normally wanted to do it, but it's possible. And then that led me to think, okay, I want to do that for the other things in my game that are very game specific. Since I'm doing the generation in runtime, I just use this generic 3D node with a collision box and then change this to what I want. So if I want it to be a rigid body or if I want it to be a static body. And for now, I originally had it as a rigid, as a moving rigid body, but I realized that that's not what I want, because I've had other plants that were like heavy on the top, so then they would start falling to gravity, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted the plants to be a bit more plastic, a bit more malleable, a bit more like I can, you know, move them a bit around as the player moves. I wanted them to be lighter than the player. That is unfortunately a Unity feature, and if I want to do this here, I'm gonna have to do a lot of scripting. So I'm just keeping it rigid for now. Now, why did I not do that for the seed and the flower? And that's because they use the item pickup code. And it's so enmeshed that I realized that with that add-on, it is very, very enmeshed. So it is actually not a good idea to have that generate during runtime as a thing. So I just have that as a scene, right? So it's separate scenes here. So if I go to seeds, for each species, there is a scene. And that will have to continue. That is something that I've started, unfortunately, and I'm just going to have to continue it unless I find something else. But what I did do is a way to make my import a bit easier. And that is, I have created the runnable scripts that work. So it took a bit, but basically I would import the mesh and it's all just meshes. And then I'd run this script and then it would create the seeds for them, the seed and flower scripts, and put them in the right place. And then I would just go and delete it, but I also automated that. So that would kind of help with the import. I could show that now, but I'm just kind of going through concepts. At this point, I'm getting to the point where my code has become so game specific that I no longer feel like this is going to be relevant for the vlog, for what I'm doing. And right now I'm just going to go through the other changes I've made. I just need to figure out why the quest is not working, because I want to show you the quest in the next video. And I have imported my third add-on. So I'm not too add-on heavy, but it is my third add-on because I hate UI. You will have seen this. I'll just make another video about it. All right, see ya.